Instagram. So thank you for joining me for my live stream warm-up. I'm getting all my devices set up here, so just give me 1 second. We got Facebook going, Instagram going, and YouTube going. So hold on 1 second here. So basically the way this live stream is going to go is we are going to warm up together. I know for some of you it's the evening time right now, so if you've already played today, I'm sorry. I was just trying to do a time that worked best for everybody. So kind of the way I want to do this warm up is I want it to be a little, I want it to be interactive. So I'm going to walk you through some warm up exercises, some fundamentals exercises, and then I'm going to allow you all to ask a question after each exercise is done. So I can kind of answer your questions, help you out, and we can do this all together. So let's get started by just playing some long tones, where a lot of us like to start every day. So before we do that, let's just make sure, I always like to make sure I'm really relaxed before I start playing my first notes for the day. You know, just making sure I am very aware of everything that is happening in my body. So playing trombone or a low brass instrument, it's a very heavy instrument. We just have to be aware of how our body is feeling. So I like to kind of just, you know, roll my neck out, feel my shoulders, just really assess if I have any kind of tension anywhere in my body, and just kind of, you know, get used to that before we play. Like, get used to how everything is feeling. Use this time in your warm-up to really get in tune with your body. So that being said, let's pick up our instrument. And I want to start on a low B flat, just getting a nice deep breath in and just getting that first note to speak. So I'm going to do that a few times until I get really happy with how that sounds. Definitely just get a nice sound going first thing in the morning or in the evening for some of you. So after we do just play some first few notes, let's go ahead and do some long tones, but we're not going to use the tongue at all. So we're just going to do some glisses. So etc. down the position. So here we go. We're not going to use a met or anything. Just follow me. And really start, just stay relaxed. That is totally what we're doing here, is staying relaxed. I see your question about the horn. It's a Con 88HTO, if you were wondering. So yeah, stay relaxed. And you might have wondered why I ended on the G flat and didn't go farther down. I'll answer that in 1 second. But let's do that again. So the same long tone kind of exercise, and this time let's use the articulation ta and then da. Okay. So I didn't really like the way that sounded, so I'm going to do it again. So use your warm-up to take that time to make sure that you like the way that you're sounding, that you like the way that you're playing. All right, let's try that again. So the ta, da. Again, I stopped on that G flat. So let's play just a few G flats. And the goal is to make each note sound the same, or kind of clone your articulation of the note. Just making sure we can get that G flat to speak over and over. So let's try that. had one in there that did not sound as good as all the rest. So play games with yourself. Try to get like 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, 10 in a row. Really making sure that you can clone that sound every time on the attacks. All right, so we've stopped on that G flat like 3 times, and you're probably like, why? That's a weird note to stop on. So I stopped on that G flat because, oh, thank you. I stopped on that G flat because it's the start of an exercise I want to show you all. Now, I did create a PDF file for this entire warm-up. It's over on my website. If you want to go grab that, you can get it after too. It's going to have all the exercises we're going to do today written out. So the first one I want to show you, this is by far my favorite exercise like ever for brass playing and warming up. I just think it covers so many things. We'll go into that more in a little bit, but it is called Chromatics from the Brass Gym, which is a warm-up that I learned in college, and I still do it to this day. So let me walk you through it. We're going to just kind of learn it by rote a little bit and see if we can all do it together. So it does start on that low G flat, and the reason it's called Chromatics is because we're going to play the chromatic scale. So it just goes like this. So we go from that low G flat up to a C, the chromatic scale. I'll do it one more time. And then from that C, we'll go back down. All right, so that's the pattern there. So we're going to do that exercise 3 times, that pattern, up and down 3 times, and then the last note we're going to hold out for 6 beats. So the exercise is spelled in 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off. So we'll do it that way for today. Usually when you play the exercise, then there's 3 beats of rest in between each note or each key. For today, let's do 6 beats of rest just to kind of give us a little more time to think, especially since some of us are learning this exercise and figuring it out from rote and just trying to follow along. So let's go ahead and play that together. So I'm going to put on my Met. Let's do this at about 124. So we're just going to keep going up, starting on that low G flat and then go up 1/2 step at a time. One, two, three, four. Okay, so that's the idea of the exercise. I usually stop there on that G, but you could of course keep going as high as you want. So let me tell you a few reasons why I love to play this exercise. So it's definitely one of the first ones I like to play in my warm-up. And you might think, Lisa, that wasn't long tones, your slide's moving all over the place. But I still view this as a long tones exercise, because even though I'm playing all those different chromatic notes, these are still long tones for me, because I'm still using that same amount of air as if I was taking, just like playing a long tone. So for instance, that first one in G flat, right? Right? But I just think of it as right? That air should just be as if it was one long note or one long tone. You're just moving your slide. So I love this for long tones and air. You might have seen me a few times throughout the exercise. Closing my eyes. This is also an opportunity for me to, like I was saying, get in tune with your body. See how your body's feeling. When I'm closing my eyes, when I'm warming up, it's just because I'm really trying to like internalize how I'm feeling for the day. So some other things I love about this exercise is, obviously for trombones, I know probably a lot of you are trombone players, getting the arm moving, getting the slide technique moving. So I like to try to keep my slide technique like as smooth as possible. So trying not to like hitch or stop at every note, right? So like, so not doing this. Right, like really jerky, like just trying to create like one fluid motion. Okay, just keeping it really smooth, using a nice like da articulation. So other brass players, when you do these, you can definitely slur the whole thing. But for trombones, this is a great way for us to practice our legato tongue. You might have noticed on some of the notes, I hate this word actually, alternate positions. I'm gonna say different positions. So I played, you know, like that E out in 7th position, the F out in 6th, like for this one, like. You know, that is just a B out in 7th position, then back up, right? It's the same. The tongue is just hitting. So you want to keep the slide as smooth as possible, and then just allow the tongue to hit, you know, when the slide reaches where that note is on the slide. So just some things to keep in mind when you're playing this exercise. Another thing is, for trombones, I also love this because it gets us kind of in and out of those trigger notes, the B flat, B natural, C range, you know, quite regularly, getting us in and out of that. So it kind of wakes up my brain for the trigger. So yeah, there's so many things about this exercise that I like to think about when I do it. You can also use it for a breath control exercise. So for instance, we did this today at 124 beats per minute. But if you want to go slower and slower and slower, what that's going to do is it's going to make you hold your breath for longer or practice playing longer phrases. The goal is to do each one of those keys in one breath. So if you play it slower and slower, you're going to train yourself to be able to breathe longer, play longer phrases. You can also play it faster to work on your slide technique, your finger technique, your facility on the instrument. So this exercise it just does so many things. That's why I love it. If I had to choose one warm-up exercise to play like the rest of my life, this one would be it, chromatics from the brass gym. So I'm going to give you guys a second here. If anybody has any questions, either about this excerpt we just did, exercise, or anything else so far, I'll answer a couple questions before we keep going. I just see a lot of highs, hellos, konnichiwa, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so every day when I'm warming up or working on fundamentals, whether I have 5 minutes, where's fifth position? I don't know. I'll let you know one day. That's a running joke among trombone players. It's like nobody knows where fifth position is. It's mysterious. There was actually a meme, I'm getting off topic, there was a meme a few years ago that had Winnie the Pooh and Piglet was asking Winnie the Pooh where fifth position was. That's what I always think about when I see that. Okay, so whenever I'm warming up, there are 5 areas of playing I like to work on every day, no matter how much time I have, whether it's like 5 minutes really quick before a gig, or I have the whole day off and I just want to take a lot of time to warm up and work on my fundamentals and I have a whole hour. I just want to make sure I hit these 5 areas of essentially brass playing every day. So the first area I like to hit was the one we already did, and that was this idea of long tones, right? Like long notes, getting the air moving. So long tones for sure. The next thing that I like to do is work into the low register. Last time I did my live stream warm-up, we did major arpeggios going down, but today our theme is going to be let's stop playing major scales all the time and do some minor scale work. So we're going to do our minor arpeggios going down. So we'll do this nice and slow so you can all follow along. This is also a good opportunity for you to refresh your brain on those minor arpeggios. So if you don't know what a minor arpeggio is, 1, flat 3, and 5 of any scale. So we're going to go down. It's going to sound like this. So we're going to start on middle B flat, F, D flat, B flat. I can't sing that low. So let's get some water here, a little spritz. Yeah, we're just going to go down and then down by half step. And the idea is same concept as the long tones. This can also be viewed as a long tone exercise. We take that breath in and the air should just fall out naturally. So it should just be, even though I was playing different notes, it's like, right? This idea that it's like if we take all the way in, that air will just naturally fall out. All right. And the goal should be that last note, right? We're working on our low register. So the point is to descend down. So really make sure you put emphasis on that low note. Another thing you can do to help you with this exercise is to think of crescendoing as you go down. That will just remind the air to keep moving down into that low note. Okay, something to think about. So when I do this, I like to use either, a nice da articulation or use natural slurs as much as possible. As you can see in the warm-up so far, not really getting too into really harsh tonguing right away. That's just kind of my philosophy when I warm up. I like to focus on the air and the sound first. Maybe throw a soft legato tongue in there, but certainly not coming out right away with all the harsh articulations. So let's do this together. We'll start on that middle B flat and just descend down those minor arpeggios. Nice and slow, 1/2 step at a time. Here we go. So starting on that B flat. Okay, so now A minor. Alright, so that was down to a low E there. So this is kind of the idea with these. We're getting lower and lower, 1/2 step at a time. Now, trombones, the different things that we can work on here. Obviously, we can try our different positions. I'm not going to say alternate because I don't like that, because we need to be able to play this up in any position. So, trombones, if you have a trigger, feel free to use the F attachment to get out some of these arpeggios. So for instance, I could have played on the G minor. You know, utilizing that B flat there in the trigger 3. Okay, play around with different positions there. Also, out on the F and the E, you might have seen me, I had my slide extended all the way out. I was playing those positions out there in 6th position, 7th position. You could also use the natural positions and then get into the trigger right away. So let me do F and E one more time. Practice getting that trigger F out. And then E. So I always notice going into the trigger, instead of playing them in the open positions, it's going to take more air. So push of air once you hit that trigger register. If you do not have an F attachment, that's okay too. You can actually still play this exercise. I actually play this exercise a lot on my King 3B, no F attachment. So let me just show you, we're going to learn how to do false tones, so you can still play all of those notes. So for instance, the F. So essentially like playing that F, but just without the trigger down. So, and then E. Playing that low E without the trigger down. So that is also another option what you can do. They're called false tones. So I like to kind of switch those out even if I do have the trigger, because it kind of gets your lips really warmed up doing those kind of pitch bends and stuff. So experiment both ways. Use the open positions, use the trigger, try some false tones. It's like you should be able to play each of these arpeggios in every single possible way that you can play them, or any different combination of positions. So kind of keep that in mind. All right, So I stopped there just so I could give that whole trigger spiel, but let's keep going down. So we ended on an E, so now let's play an E flat. So if you don't have an F attachment, just try out some of those false tones, do your best to follow along. I'm going to use my F attachment for today. Again, lots of air down in the low register. I'm going to do that one more time, getting down that low E flat. D. So that low C there, we're going to try that again. That's kind of a hard note on trombone to get out, especially if you're short like me. I have to really extend my arm down there. Let me try one more time. Okay, that's the idea. So going lower and lower, 1/2 step at a time. Hello. But we're not going to stop there. You might think that's the end of the road. We're also going to do B minor. Oh, hi. Let's try B minor, but that low B is going to be in like a trigger 7, which doesn't really exist. So what we're going to do is just extend our slide down as far as we can go, and we're going to have to lip down to hear that low B natural. And I kind of glissed down to it and tried to adjust my lips. But make sure you can still try to get that note out. We don't want to be hindered by, oh, my trombone can't play that loud. Yes, it can. And you can really just keep going. You can extend this down into the pedal register, so B flat. And you can keep going. This is like, how low can you go? You know, it just keeps going. So challenge yourself. Try to get lower and lower every day. Try to play with a better and better sound every day. Get more and more comfortable getting down into the lower register. So why I like to do something like this is, again, in my warm-up or fundamentals time every day, if I have 5 minutes or if I have an hour, I like to make sure I play the lowest note I can possibly play and the highest note that I could possibly play. So this is the low portion of that. So now the last note we played was that pedal B flat. We have officially gotten into the pedal register. Like I said, you can extend this down into the pedal register. But for today, let's just do something a little more simple. We are just going to do glisses. So we're going to start on that pedal B flat. Right, that pedal B flat. And we're just going to gliss down. So like 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Etc., etc. So let me explain a little bit about this before we keep going. This takes an incredible amount of air. So we've kind of been warming up to this as we've been going. Make sure you're taking in a huge amount of air. And up until this point in our warm-up, we've been playing pretty soft. You know, everything's been in like the piano, mezzo piano, maybe even mezzo forte, just like a really comfortable sound. But for this is like put some air through the horn. Get these pedals to come out. Think you're crescendoing. We're just going to try to go down as low as we can. So starting on that pedal B flat. We'll go for the, yeah, usually, you know, down to pedal up is good. Getting down to the E is kind of hard for me, so that's something that I want to keep working on, keep challenging myself. So sometimes when I start playing in the pedal register, I get, you know, putting more air through the horn, I get kind of lightheaded. So if you start getting lightheaded while you're working in the lower register like this, what I always like to do is just, I stand up and literally just like put my head in between my legs, just breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth, just try to like center back in. And also it gives me a chance to kind of stretch a little bit in my warm-up. Usually I like to stretch a few times as the warm-up goes, just so I can kind of relieve some tension. You know, I'll bend over, do some trunk twists, all that kind of stuff, so keep your body loose. So now that we have gotten into the pedal register like that, and went as low as we possibly could. So bass trombones, you're probably going to win at this game, you know, getting all the way down there. Let's go ahead and go back to the trigger register, and now we are going to add in some articulation, because that's something that I find is important, or something that I like to work on, is making sure I'm articulating those trigger notes, like if we have to start on one, like if we have to start on a low F or a low E or something like that. So, and this is a totally different approach now. We are going to just put a lot of air through the horn and just try to clone all those notes. You know, really trying to put some air through there and get a nice attack on each one of those. So let's just do that together. We'll just go down chromatically from that trigger F. And so we'll just go ta, 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 ta. And think of this at a high dynamic. Think of this as a really strong attack. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, ready? I didn't like that first attack, so let's do it again. Do D flat again. There's that low C there. So that idea too of getting some articulations in this lower register, in this trigger register. All right, so we've done long tones so far. We've done some low register playing. Next we're gonna move on, but before we do that, does anybody have any questions about anything? Long tones, low register, excuse me, anything so far? Just see a lot of hellos, hi's, thank you, hi. All right, so now I like to move on to tonguing or articulation. So what we're gonna do today, continuing our kind of minor theme for the day, is we're gonna play a D natural minor scale. So let's go ahead and just review that really quick if you don't know it. So D minor is the relative minor to F major, which is only 1 flat, right? So just really slow, starting on D. All right, D minor scale. Actually, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Anthony, I see your question. Anthony asks, I'd love to hear some ideas on centering the trigger register if you have time. I tend to want to crack upwards a partial. All right, interesting. So that is certainly something that happens. The biggest thing that I can say is just practicing in the trigger register more. That's kind of the idea of why we're doing it in the warm-up, just making sure you're doing it every day. And exercises similar to the one that I just showed you, just making sure you're starting some of those notes and articulating them. Let me see if I can try to think what I think about there. I guess for me, I tend to adjust a lot when I go down into the trigger register. Like if you can even like watch my mouth right now. So I would maybe suggest doing that, playing up in the middle register and kind of working down to the trigger. Even as something simple as what I just said, like that middle F to low B flat to trigger F, and look in a mirror, like I'm looking at my phone right now, just so you can kind of see what is happening there, if you're shifting at all, if you're making any adjustments, you know. Once I've kind of found where that is, or that little shift I needed to make, you know, I did definitely drop my jaw a bit. I definitely angled my mouthpiece a little bit, I think. I don't know if you can see my lips. Once you kind of find where that sets for you and you can get a really good sound in those trigger notes, then it's kind of like take a mental snapshot, a mental picture. Remember where that is. Remember what you had to do. That way, if you just need to start on one of those notes, you kind of are already coming back to something that you already discovered, if that makes sense. You found where the adjustment was, you remembered it, you took a mental picture of it, remembered it where every single muscle was, and then every time you go back, you can recall what that is. So, and then from there, it's just practice. It's just time in, making sure, you know, Anthony said, I tend to want to crack upwards of partial. I would say just make sure you do it every day in your warm-up. Make sure you're practicing that skill set. I know something, you know, I struggle playing in the trigger register sometimes too, just because that's something I don't do all the time. I play my majority of music on a small bore horn, so I like to spend a lot of time in the trigger register as well, when I have one. So, Anthony, I hope that helped a little bit. Let me know if you have any more questions. That was a good question, Anthony. All right, so let's move on to tonguing. Like I said, we were doing our D natural minor scale. We reviewed that already. So we are also going to play this D minor scale in thirds, just to kind of change it up a little. So when I use scales and arpeggios for my warm-up, I like to change it up every day, always making sure we're trying different keys, doing different stuff. Yeah, that's true. Thanks so much, Lisa. Missing you. Oh, thanks, Anthony. Anthony was a trombonist in a show I did in 2018 in Japan called One Piece Ototage. He's an awesome trombone player. And thanks for watching. So take care, Anthony. All right, so we're going to go through this D natural minor scale in thirds just so we can get some different patterns under our fingers or under our slides. So we reviewed the notes of the D minor scale, but doing it in thirds means you're just going to, the pattern is up a third, so like D to F, and then go to the next scale, to go down to the next scale degree, E to G. So it's like we're doing this pattern skipping by thirds. You've probably heard this before. It's a pretty popular pattern that a lot of musicians do. So I'm just going to play it super slow so you kind of can get into it. Start wrapping your brain around your D natural minor scale. Go down. Okay, that's the idea of the D minor scale in thirds. I'll take another question here. Do you have a defining line between warm-up time and practice time? Ooh, that's a super good question. The whole term, I know this is a big thing in the brass community, is like what's warming up and what's working on fundamentals or what's practicing. So I feel like warming up is just like the actual time that you need to be warmed up on your instrument, which honestly doesn't take very long. So, I mean, especially if you're playing in a position where you're playing a lot and you're playing every day. Like, I play every day, so, hi, Corey. I play every day, so to be actually warmed up probably only takes like a couple minutes, right? But I view it more like what we're going through today. Yeah, I call it a warm-up because I just, you know, everyone's just kind of used to the way that sounds. But it's actually just working on fundamentals. So I definitely view this more as like a fundamentals kind of routine, making sure I'm hitting all those different areas of my brass playing. But as far as do I need to take all this time to warm up, you know, absolutely not. I do think of warming up and fundamentals maybe before I hit like some music or some projects that I'm working on. I definitely try to like do things in order, like, okay, warm up, fundamental time, then getting into my music. But something I also like to do is incorporate some of the stuff I'm practicing into my warm-up. This is one of the biggest things that I tell my students all the time, is incorporating like stuff you're working on in your music into your practice routine. For instance, especially like the keys you're working on, right? If your piece is in D minor, make sure you're incorporating D minor exercises and arpeggios and all that stuff into your warm-up. Or if there's like a really hard lick in a piece you're working on, maybe there's a really huge interval or something. Yeah, I was just working on an etude with one of my students yesterday, and the opening interval, it goes from like a low E flat to a high G, so that, you know, octave and a third leap, like right off the bat. So taking like an element like that and putting it into your warm-up. So, you know, play that interval, play it different ways, play it down a half step, work it up, you know, getting used to those sounds. So it's a hard question to answer, because I kind of like try to incorporate everything, but I definitely work on fundamentals before I start working on music entirely, like reading like the sheet music. But I will start to trickle in stuff from the music I'm working on into my warm-up. Sorry, I know that might have been kind of confusing. Hopefully that answered your question. So let's keep going with this tonguing idea. So we reviewed our D minor scale in thirds. Now we're gonna add the tongue in. So this is the first time in the warm-up that we've really started to focus on the tonguing, getting the tongue warmed up. So we're gonna do a nice and slow tempo for today, because I want everyone to kind of be able to follow along. And we're just gonna do 70 beats a minute. And we're gonna do, you're welcome. We're gonna do 8 16th notes on each note, and then like a half note. So it's gonna sound like this. Okay, that idea of going up this D minor scale in thirds, just getting the tongue moving. All right, here's 70 beats a minute. Ready? We'll go down now, right? Alright, so it's kind of a long one at this slow tempo here, but like I said, I wanted to do a tempo that we can all kind of follow along with for today, for learning the exercise. Obviously, the point of doing this is to get faster and faster, right? So always increasing the tempo at which we are able to do this, speeding up the tongue. Also, doing it at that slow tempo, I just realized that was kind of like a concentration exercise for me, really making sure I get all the way through the exercise and, you know, what note I'm playing. So we're getting the tongue moving, but we're also, use this time to challenge yourself to play different patterns, different scales. So we're starting nice and slow like this. You can pick any scale or pattern, even one that like maybe you're not so comfortable with. We're gonna keep the tempo the same now. We're not gonna speed up, the nice comfortable tempo for us today, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna speed up how we're playing the notes. So instead of doing 8 16th notes and a half note, we are going to do 4 16th notes and a quarter note. So Right? So our tongue is still moving at the same speed. We're still getting that same articulation, but we're moving through the pattern faster. So this is kind of training us to play this pattern or the scale faster and faster. So let's try it that way with 4/16 notes and a quarter note on each note. Okay, that's kind of the idea with that. We have a few questions here. Do you recommend recording those exercises to check for consistency? Absolutely. I always recommend recording. I do, hi Chavi, I do a lot of recording, as some of you may know. Obviously follow me on social media. I make YouTube videos all the time, you know, so I'm constantly recording, and it's a really good way to check out what you're doing. You know, sometimes it's hard for us to hear what we're actually playing while we're playing it, and then sometimes we listen back to a recording and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I sounded like that. So 100%, absolutely, the more you can record yourself, the better. Another thing, I was talking to this to one of my students yesterday, is I actually like to, if I have like a certain passage that I want to learn or I want to play, I will play it like 5 different ways. You know, maybe different style of tonguing, maybe some different articulations, maybe I'm trying out some different positions, that kind of stuff, and then record myself and listen back and then decide based on my recording. It's like, okay, well, which one sounded the best? So 100% record yourself all the time, every day. You'll only get better that much faster. So yes, always recommend recording. Now we're going to do that same pattern, but we're doing 2 16th notes on each note. So again, our tongue is moving at the same speed, but we are moving through that pattern even faster now. So let's try that. Okay, so that was 2 16th notes on each note. And then the eventual goal is 1 on each note, right? You know, eventually working up to that. So, you know, playing 8 16ths at a time, 4 at a time, 2 at a time, 1 at a time. And obviously speeding up the tempo, trying different patterns. You know, when I incorporate this in my warm-up, I like to do different scales, mix them up, so all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, using your metronome every day is really important. That way you can track your progress. You know, if you're really concerned about your articulation speed and your tonguing speed, make sure that you keep track of it every day. You can even keep some notes on your phone or a journal, keeping track of like what metronome mark your tonguing is at, and always striving to get that faster, faster, faster. That's kind of the point of working on these fundamentals and these exercises, is we always want to be able to play lower. We always want to be able to play higher. We always want to be able to play faster. You know, we don't want these things that we can't do to get in our way of making music. You know, you don't want the trombone or your tongue to prevent you from playing something that you want to play. So that's kind of the goal with these exercises. We have a question here from Melissa. Hey, Melissa. What would you recommend to get back into the inspiration? All right, this is a really good question. Super popular topic right now among many musicians, many educators as well, because of the coronavirus and the pandemic. We're all stuck at home, or we don't have jobs. So what I recommend, like what's been keeping me motivated, is just continuing to make music, continue to play every day. Honestly, social media has been a big one for me. So making posts on social media, doing my YouTube channel. Like I have set a weekly goal for myself to put out a YouTube video, and you know, no one's making me do that. I don't have to do it, but that's something that's keeping me motivated or inspired to keep going. And I've been drawing a lot of inspiration from my colleagues, you know, from my friends who are also involved in music. I love following other people's careers and, you know, seeing what they're doing, what kind of videos they're posting. And I would say if you're lacking in inspiration, just start reaching out to people, start talking about music again, check out what other people are doing, get some ideas for what maybe you want to do. And it worked for me. Like, I don't know, start a practice Instagram account or start up a YouTube channel or have an outlet where even if you can't go out and perform, because there are no jobs in America right now, not going to get into that, but yeah, that you can still have an outlet for music, even though it's, you know, from your house. So I would definitely kind of just try to stay motivated, just try to play. If you have any musicians in your immediate area, maybe you can do like a social distance kind of session, or, you know, even the acapella app is something super simple. Even if you don't have equipment, you can use that. Just talk about music, listen to music, watch music, and just keep making music, I guess, is what has been keeping me kind of inspired, because I don't want to come out of this thing when the jobs do come back and work does come back and live music does come back. I don't want to come out of this thing and like, oh, I haven't played my instrument in a year, you know? So I'm just keep going one day at a time. So hopefully that helped. So take care, Melissa. Thanks for the question. All right, back to the warm-up. Let's just do one more thing for today. And actually, I'll probably cut this live stream short just because we're already approaching an hour. And then I'll probably do another one next week, and we can kind of cover the other half of the exercises that I wanted to get to today. So let's just do one last tonguing exercise, and let's stick with this whole theme we have going on for today. We're doing our minor scales. Let's do E minor now, and we're going to do the scales in thirds again. So E minor. Everyone think about what that is for a second. E natural minor we'll do. Just one sharp, right? F sharp. Now we're going to work on our double tonguing, because that's something else. Incorporating multiple tonguing exercises into your warm-up is important too. Not sure where everyone's double tonguing is at, but let's just pick again like a comfortable slow tempo just so I can kind of show you through the exercise. It's basically the same thing we just did, but we're just going to be double tonguing. So here's like 130. So we'll do the eight notes first, right? Right? That idea through the exercise. Now I know everybody has a different thought on what kind of syllables they use for their double tonguing. I've heard all sorts of different syllables that people use. I've heard digga, daga, tuku, so many. But the one that I usually think of is digga, 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 da, digga, 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 da. And also I've been trying to play a little more smooth lately, so now I'm even trying to get into the idea of like daga, 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 like just super smooth, trying to smooth it out. Because usually in the more commercial styles of music that I play, we kind of want that really smooth kind of double tongue sound, not really notey, like maybe in like a classical fanfare or something, where you would have a little more of a precise articulation or maybe crisp notes for each note. That's also a style of double tonguing that I think is important. But yeah, okay, so daga, yeah. So I like to keep it smooth. That's my goal for the style of music I play, and what I usually try to go for, what I try to work on. But by all means, pick whatever syllable works the best for you. So yeah, actually we only have about 1 minute remaining on this Instagram Live. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stop this and start up a new one. So please join me. We'll go through this one last exercise and then we'll finish up for the day. But yeah, let me stop this because I have 47 seconds left. Okay, so I'm gonna start up another one. See you guys in a second. See some people coming back. All right, thanks guys for coming back. All right, so let's do that double tonguing exercise, right? So. On our E minor scale in thirds. While we're doing the 8 notes at a time, think about each note, right? This is gonna give you time to think through the pattern. Here we go. So here's the E minor scale in thirds. 1. We'll go down. Alright, so same principle, same idea we did with the single tonguing, then we just bump up the tempo and pick a nice, comfortable double tonguing tempo. And same idea, we're trying to get faster and faster and faster every day. So then we would do it in our 4 pattern, right? Okay, and then back down. You all get the idea. So that is kind of the first 3 areas of my warm-up or fundamentals that I do every day. I was hoping we can get all the way through, but you know, with the questions and everything, which is great. I wanted this to be interactive. Took a little longer than expected. So what we covered today, we did our long tones, we did low register playing, and then some tonguing and articulation exercises. So I definitely want to do this again next week, and we can kind of cover the second half of the warm-up. So exercises that I like to do for flexibility, and then building your high register, which I know everyone loves to hear about. That's the question I get all the time. How do you play high on the trombone? In the meantime, if you want to check out some high register stuff, I do have some videos over on my YouTube channel from the last time I did a live stream warm-up like this. You can check that out. And then I also have this range video. It's called Play High with Over the Rainbow. I use the melody to Somewhere Over the Rainbow and turn it into a high register exercise. So go check those out if you are curious. But yeah, I'm going to do this again next week and go over some more stuff with you all. This was fun. Let me take like one last little question round here, and then I'm going to wrap it up for the day. So I'll give you guys a second if anyone has any more questions. Other than that, I will probably get going. I see a bunch of people are coming in here right at the end. So thank you again for joining. And oh, all right, I got a question from Chavi Castella. Yeah. You are the best, Lisa. Oh, thank you. Do you know of any trumpet player that does this kind of live videos? Actually, I'm not sure. Actually, Christopher Still comes to mind from the LA Phil, although I think most of his videos are more music business oriented or that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if they're like about trumpet playing. I'll have to get back to you. I'm sure there are some trumpet players doing some live stuff, but I'd have to think about it. I have to like check out my newsfeed and get back to you about that. Any other questions from anyone else? Sorry to the people who are just coming in now. All right, so thank you. I will announce on my Instagram, on my social media, when this is going to be next week. We can go through some more exercises. I can answer some more questions. In the meantime, if you haven't yet, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have tons of videos over there you can check out. And I hope you all have a great evening, great morning, whatever time it is for you. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.